I'm not sure.
All right, if you go ahead and head towards your seats. Head towards your seats. We're actually going to jump right into our prayer hymn this morning. This is going to be my third and final week, which I hope our guests are okay with this, with me presenting the Belarus trip, and I want to make sure I get it done. So, well, but I split it into 3 weeks. That way you guys can ask your questions and stuff today. But, yeah, you're good. I haven't went over that. I cut off, I didn't talk about the bond. I saved that just for you guys. Okay, number 672 is going to be our prayer hymn. 672. Things on the prayer list this week. If you can, please keep Michigan Kids Camp in your prayers. Kaylee and I will be leaving next Sunday to head up to Bellevue, Michigan for that. And that is primarily done by individuals from the Lima Church. So I'm looking forward to being part of that. VBS is coming up very, very quickly. And just as a reminder, I'm trying to think where we want to fit it in at. We will probably have about a 5 to 10 minute meeting today after we eat and before our afternoon session. Okay, that's the plan. So we'll do 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of recap where we're at and time frames and everything. And then we'll start our afternoon session after that. Please keep Diane in your prayers. I think it's been mentioned, everyone knows kind of the health stuff she's dealing with. Is there any updates from her or just?
Yeah, she's on some oxygen and the doctor's actually around the transfer for next now.
Good. All right. We're on. We're good. I think I remembered. Week's 99.
You know it.
I know. Oh, no. I almost forgot. We got travelers this week. The Zingos, are you guys heading today? Friday. Oh, okay. So you're here for another week. Okay. And Ryan will probably be heading back, you say next weekend? Yeah. Something like that. So I want to keep them in our prayers for safety. I missed the kids camp on there twice. Just pray for it twice, if you don't mind. Emily McKinney is Patty's sister, right?
His mom.
Yep. That is doing chemo treatments. Patty gave an update on that Thursday. It sounds like she's doing great. She has energy and everything. So very, very thankful for that. Of course, our brothers throughout the world, the efforts that they have for the gospel, our brother in Ghana, Burma, Belarus, Vietnam, India, Cameroon, all those places. Pray for them, pray for the efforts there. For our military and their families, it was great to see Noah last week. And I want to pray for him and others. Bernadine's nephew, right? Nephew, yep. Always want to keep them in our prayers. Chad and things he's doing. He'll be home soon, right? Tuesday. 2 more days. 2 more days. You've been counting them down, haven't you? Spiritual opportunities and effectiveness of the new week. Always want to keep that in the forefront. Anything else that needs to mention in the prayer list? Sounds like Lancaster camp was a great camp. Great job. Barb is recovering from surgery. Anything else needs to mention? All right, upcoming announcements. June, K. Mays has Lord's Supper. Snyder's have building cleanup. Greatman's have third week fellowship. June 11th through 15th, again, is Kids Camp. VBS is July 17th through 21st. getting here quickly. Any other, yes?
There's a possibility, maybe tomorrow, like that. The kids can.
To the kids camp next week?
Maybe.
If that's the case, I need to know 2 days, like we have to pay registration a week and a half ago.
Okay.
Our registration got it late too because the time frames are weird.
Spencer would have liked to go.
Okay.
But he did all kinds of things necessary to get into this, what's it, engineering class through Purdue.
Okay.
He's only gonna be a freshman.
That's what I was gonna say.
He's been taking college classes already.
Well, just let me know immediately, please, because we kind of had a couple other kids we were wondering about, and registration got pretty crazy, and I think they use that at registration to prepare food and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I'll find out.
But we'll figure it out. If anyone can go,
Nikki said she didn't know if you would go without Spencer.
I mean, I've got room in my vehicle for kids to go. Any other announcements? Things coming up? Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, this starts today. Youth camp starts today. Yeah, I think they're anticipating some kids getting back from youth camp and turning right around and going to Michigan next week. So thankful that Marshall, who drove with Jeff McGraw this year? By now?
It's gonna be Marshall and Brett in one van and Jeff McGraw and Alan by the other.
And Alan. Oh, okay, Alan drove. Yeah, I thought you guys were going to ship the Ken out with Marshall or something. I didn't know if she was going or not.
Too late.
Were you guys one of the many, many, many families that did the Ark Encounter? Did you end up doing that? That was pretty neat one to have. I did. It's funny watching Facebook over the last week. All these people from out west. It's like, should have got together and got a big group discount or something to go to the Ark. Any other announcements? We're going to do it this year, right? We skipped that last year.
Dang it, really?
Did that in July sometime? We usually do it like a week or two before. Oh, I don't. It's your you play. I don't want to play it. I don't want to be jaded with the whole rain thing.
Yeah.
That's Joni's thing.
I'll find out. I'll find out.
All right. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. 672. Let's see here. Let's sing through this twice. Who's at the table this morning? All right. Russ, can you pray for us, please? 672, let's sing through twice, and Russ will have our prayer. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angels bow before him. Heaven and earth adore him. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angels bow before him. Heaven and earth adore him. What a mighty God we serve.
Our great and awesome Father in heaven, Lord, we do know that you are the one and only true God and that you are a mighty God. And Lord, we know that you can do all things. Lord, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and the hope of eternal salvation that we have through him, the hope of spending eternity with you in heaven. Lord, we just thank you for loving us enough to sacrifice his life for us. Lord, we pray that all that we do today would glorify you. All that is spoken, all that is taught would glorify you. Lord, we thank you for the answered prayers that we have received over the last week, those who have been ill and have recovered, those who have traveled with safety. Lord, we ask again today that you would be with these that have been listed, be with them, those who are on the missionaries who are in lands all over the world. Lord, be with them, keep them safe, and Lord, help them to be able to teach the Word of God boldly. Father, help us to teach the Word of God boldly and correctly. Every opportunity. We pray that the rest of this time spent together this morning would glorify you and would lift us up. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thanks, Russ. 596. 596. Let's do the first verse, 596, and then the guys will come forward. All to Jesus I surrender, all to him I freely give. I will ever love and trust him, in his presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all.
He's been practicing that all week.
Seems like every time I get up here that happens. I don't know. It's something you go back there and mess with that thing. And
That's not a fairy warning, is it?
I don't know what that is.
Pixie.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Tinkerbell's in the house.
You know, sitting there this morning, it may not seem so, but if we get outside of our normal comfort zone of our little town of Connersville or Milton or whatever, and get out into the world can get pretty ugly, pretty scary. Back when I drove truck, I remember there's things I seen that I never could have thought I would have seen. One person do to other people, you know. I didn't see it take place, but I remember down in Memphis at a huge truck stop down there. I seen the aftermath of what one human did to another human, and I was one of several hundred drivers questioned that morning as I attempted to leave the truck stop. But I mean, when I found out the details later, because when I got home the next time, I started Googling and found articles, and I found the details later. I mean, it's unbelievable what people do. So, you know, this world can be a pretty scary place. But I remember another night, I think it was over in Whitestown, Indiana. I came in there and I was going to do a doctor's appointment in Indianapolis the next day, so I parked my truck at that big TA there, and wet, rainy night, and I'm walking up through the parking lot from way in the back because I got in late, so I had to take one way in the back. And I'm walking through there, through the rows of trucks, and I noticed that there's a woman walking in front of me. And I believe she had a young girl with her, if I remember right. But they'd evidently come out of some rows of trucks in front of me. And as they're heading towards the truck stop as well. And as they're quite a ways in front of me, but as they're walking along, I see that the woman keeps turning around, keeps an eye on me, you know. And that's on her part wise to do that, you know. She didn't know who I was. I mean, I could have been the guy from Memphis, you know. I mean, so, you know, she didn't know. But it kind of made me feel funny because I realized that I was considered to be a threat, you know. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but when you know that somebody is threatened by you, I hope that most all of you would feel that I'm the furthest thing from a threat to that lady and her child. But as I walked up through that dark parking lot, I thought to myself, not only am I not a threat, they're safer because I'm here. But they don't know. I'm perceived as a threat, but they're actually safer. I mean, I would have put myself in harm's way for them, but they don't know that. No. You know, we use a phrase a lot that says, I came to know Christ. When I came to know Christ, and most or many of us here today would say, I have come to know Christ. When we were sinners, we didn't know Christ. John 17:3 says, this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. You cannot be saved unless you come to know Christ. It doesn't work. But unless we continue to learn and know Christ, regardless of what the Calvinists say, unless we continue to learn and know about Christ, we don't stay saved. That initial introduction to Christ is not where our relationship with him is supposed to stop. If you simply meet someone once and never interact with them again, can you say that you truly know them? There were people that I went to school with 35 plus years ago. Haven't seen them since that day in May in 1981. Haven't talked to them 35 plus years. Can I say I really know them? They were best friends for 12 or 13 years. It only took me 12 years. You know, they were best friends for 12 years, but can I say I really know them now? Would I know them if I've even seen them on the street? I don't go to reunions. You know, so does even spending a few minutes a week with somebody mean you know? The people that we really know are the ones that we live with, the ones that we talk with on a daily basis, the ones that we share meals with. And that's the relationship that Christ wants, desires to have with you. He wants to hear from us. He wants us to listen to what he has to say through his word, and he desires to share a meal with you. So that we can know him, because if we don't know him, he can't keep us safe. Now, the lady in the truck stop, she didn't know me, and so she didn't know that she could turn to get help for me if she needed it. She had no idea. I was the boogeyman as far as she was. All she could do was walk through that parking lot in fear. Paul tells us in Philippians 4, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses a comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. If we stay in communication, if we stay in fellowship with Christ, the peace of God can take away all of our fears and concerns, not only of this world, but of what comes from after this world. So, if at some point in your journey across the big dark parking lot of life, you realize that you quit knowing Jesus in the manner that you should know him, start at this meal to restart your relationship with him.
Most wonderful, loving Heavenly Father, Lord, again, we truly thank you so very much for this wonderful day that we can gather together here as family. We can gather together here as children around your table, that we can remember the great sacrifice that was made for without your love for us, we would not be able to truly have a relationship with you. Lord, we ask you to just always help to watch over us. Now, so as we reflect here today, that we remember not only when we came to you that we are still with you, and that we are ourselves in this world that also times is always so dark, that we are always that bright and shining light that you want us to be. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Appreciate everyone being willing to let me take up this much time. As I mentioned before, I've done this in the past, and I guess my whole point of talking to you guys about the trip is I just think it's important for us to realize some of the differences in culture and how those things need to be separate from our efforts spiritually. You know, years ago I did a sermon kind of boiling down Satan's strategy towards the church, and it really just comes down to distractions. And distractions are different in every part of the world. The distractions that he puts forth for, I think, a lot of Christians in America are extremely different
from the distractions that he puts forth for Christians in Belarus, which are extremely different than the Christians in Vietnam, and so forth. So I wanted to show you some of these things because I think that temptation is still always there for us to commingle some of the freedoms provided to us in our culture with the freedoms provided to us in Christ. And those things should not be commingled, should not be mixed in any way. So, I mean, I hope this is informative. I also want everyone to know, we do support Olga over there in her efforts. So I want everyone to be aware of what she's doing and the relationship Direct Connect possesses with her as well. Does anyone, presented the last couple of weeks, does anyone have any questions that have come up about the slides that I've presented this far? Some of the things about Belarus or the people that we meet or the things that we do. Yep. That's an extremely good question. They have a national church. The Belarusian Orthodox Church is the government church. So for you to be able to assemble in, I have to tell the people who are here, this is how weird Mike is. This photography group is walking along and asks if he can model for them. Because he lit. We were cramming into the Yashnikov's car to leave assembly. We'll start talking to Galina Yashnikov, and Sasha's joking like, maybe they want to take pictures of you. Sure, they drag him out of the car and put him against the wall and start taking pictures of him. Yeah. But anyway, Kay, you have to be registered. There is no religious freedom. You don't assemble together and meet, but it's not, you can get registered, it's unless your religion is considered dangerous to the government. I have really tried to analyze and consider the worst that can happen in my case. I go to Belarus as opposed to other Direct Connect places because I think the risk is the lowest, probably. I really think if there became a major issue where we were just caught in the act, they would probably send us home, is what they would do. But they seem very open to humanitarian aid, and they're obviously open to religious influence. There is significant presence of Baptist and Pentecostal, and there are many religions outside of the Belarusian Orthodox Church. In fact, I wouldn't even call that a religion. It's more of when you run into someone that's Belarusian Orthodox, they've never been to church. They're just Belarusian Orthodox, So you can be open. We wouldn't stand out in the square and preach. Definitely wouldn't do that. But in 20 years of Bible studies and things like that, it's never been a problem. And even, we were doing that seminar with one of the churches in our flat, and a police officer came and knocked on the door because we were on Victory Square and the president was going to be doing a speech while we were there. So they actually hunted us down based on our registration and said, what are you doing here? What's going on? And Oleg told the police officer, we're just doing a Bible study, and it wasn't a huge deal. They didn't say, wait a second, there's Americans here and they're on a business visa. And, that didn't go like that. So, and many preachers willingly put Steve, Mike, or me or whoever up to preach on Sundays without any real concern or fear. So it's not the freedom, the religious freedom idea that we have here, but I don't know if anyone's been legitimately persecuted. There was a time where Yashnikov's church, they didn't have a registration. It expired and they were having trouble getting it because the bureaucracy is ridiculous, but they met for probably 6 months, kind of, I don't want to say hidden. They met without any problems, without that registration.
I think the concern of everybody here should have is especially because numerous Belarusians think that's the thing.
That's been my concern since I've traveled.
Appears in travel magazines.
Okay, I apologize, this is sideways. This is the Banya. It's pretty much a glorified man cave with things that everywhere, there's this swimming pool that's cold, okay? Oh, that's me talking. I'm like, this thing is ice cold. So the idea is you get in the sauna, which is, I told everyone last week, got up to 105 degrees Celsius. And then you get into freezing cold water. I don't think you can see it here. But I mean, it's built like a log cabin sort of thing. But I mean, we rented this thing privately for 3 hours for $75. I think you could probably stay overnight. And I want to show you guys the temperature days so you know I'm not lying. 200, and it got up to about 27 degrees Fahrenheit, 105 degrees Celsius. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there doing the math over and over in my head. I'm like, I can't do that. So what you do is, we went into the sauna once, got all sweaty, got in the pool, swam around, played some pool, went to the sauna again. Well, then the last time in the sauna, what you do is you lay down, and another guy takes birch branches and like beats you with them softly and like rubs them up and down. Like I told Rachel it was the best back scratch I've ever had. I can't get my kids to scratch my back. But the whole idea is I think the idea is that it's slightly agitating your skin, which brings blood to the surface, which makes you even hotter. So you feel like your muscles and skin are boiling. I mean, it's really weird. It's not my, but we went with, but it's a fellowship thing. We went with Oleg and we went with Vera, which I'll show you later. We went with her oldest son, which he's not in the church anymore, but he wants to go to the bond group. So it's a great fellowship opportunity. But I do want to proclaim the message that Mike loves this. I want everyone to understand he doesn't do this reluctantly. This is his kind. He loves this thing ever since he made it. So, but I'll talk to you more about that later if you're interested. But it is not. It wouldn't normally be my thought of getting together as guys. So, this is a rehab facility that we've been to before. Alcohol rehab facility. We did a seminar there. These guys are awesome. I mean, they participate. And this place is run by. No, apparently I don't have a picture. This place is run by a guy that is this short little dude, and he's like my age. He controls 12, 14 guys. They all have responsibilities. They work on this self-sustaining facility. They have a garden. They have animals, goats, turkeys, pigs, all that kind of stuff. Really neat though. Just really, I mean, great atmosphere. They fed us, which is kind of an example of a simpler meal. This soup was delicious. I did not like their salad that they had, but you always have this bread. You can't find this in the United States. It is dense, more of a rye-ish bread. And I mean, you have it at every single meal. You eat that. So I typically had a Coke with me. Sorry. What?
Do they bake the bread or do they buy it at a market?
No, you can buy it at any market. It comes in kind of a half loaf. It's not pretty bread, but it tastes like bread. Like after you eat that, you don't feel like what we have is bread. Huh? Okay. Yeah, it's a.
What's the stuff in the other skins?
Oh, mashed potatoes, and their mashed potatoes are awesome. I mean, it is America from American point of view. That is the food that tastes most like home. It is just, their potatoes are so good, and they have potatoes galore. So that's their primary crop.
What's in their salad that you don't like? Quite a
Well, that was just kind of a pea. Just that particular salad I wasn't a fan of. It was kind of a pea, sauerkrautish kind of salad. I don't really like that. This is their facility. You probably see. This is where they live. That's where their home is. That's what had the room that we were in. This is out in the boonstick. There with the boonsticks, as Oleg says. And we had trouble getting here because there's so much construction happening around this entire area. I mean, we were like off-roading it to get out here, and they're out there and they live there and go through the program. This is part of that facility. The first weekend we drove to Grodna. Grodna is Wauseon to Connersville as far as distance. So it was a long drive. And for some reason, Dima brought his car instead of his van. And me, Mike, and Oleg were in the back seat of a small car. But this is a castle. This is a 14th century castle. It's the oldest castle still in Belarus. That was it at night. And it's just a touristy, museum-y sort of thing now. Just thought it was really pretty. Oh, I wanted to show this for my wife. This is Belarusian driving. Notice we're in the middle of the 2-lane highway. Notice how everyone else just kind of eases to the shoulder. Okay? 2-lane road at 60 miles an hour, this is what people do. Everyone knows to ease to the shoulder on both sides so people can pass straight down the middle of the road. She would have a heart attack.
That's hard to do.
It's a 2-lane road.
That's hard to do while you're texting.
Yeah. We'll give them that. I've never seen it. But I just thought that was hilarious. That is, and everyone knows that's the way it works. You just ease over so I can pass down the middle of the road, and the oncoming traffic sees you and they ease over, and everyone, you've got 3 cars sharing a 2-lane road. I took a picture of that because they grow this really pretty flower. They described it like, I don't know, does canola oil come from a flower? I think that's the flower, and there are these beautiful yellow fields.
It's like neon.
Oh yeah, it's super bright. I mean, that's out the window of the car, and it's really pretty. I want to show this just to, I mean, this is the type of landscape you're talking about. I mean, forest. Like we have woods that we would say, you know, they have forests, and it's really neat when you study a little bit of the history of how Belarus acted in World War II. That, I mean, it was guerrilla type warfare out in these forests because they formed these groups that functioned very well in the forests, and the Germans couldn't find them. I mean, it was very dense. This is in Grodna, and we actually drove there that day, 3.5 hours, had about an hour and a half long Bible study, had a meal, and turned around and came back. But this is a family that this congregation, this is the wife, this is the husband, and they were somehow linked to, again, this Stuart Merrill, who was the one that started the Church of Christ congregations. So they've kind of been off in Timbuktu sort of thing. And last time Mike even visited them was, I think, my second trip, first or second trip, so it's been a while. This guy teaches French in a high school. Just amazed me how many people there are multilingual. That's our meal. There's your borscht. Okay, it's a beet soup, and they put sour cream in it. They always put sour cream in it. It's pretty good.
Bean soup or?
Beet soup. There's your bread, of course. Again, that's the husband. This guy was, I mean, he was like 11 last time I was there. I think he's like 17 now, 17 or 18. But just a small group kind of out there. She speaks phenomenal English. She's very fluent in English. Again, I showed this just to show you, I mean, it's so backward, so much construction, and they're in a financial crisis. I mean, there's construction everywhere. I mean, these apartment buildings just nonstop. This was another thing of food I want to show you. And first time I went, they served me buckwheat. It was the grossest stinking stuff I've ever had in my life. I love it. Like, it is so good. I came home and told Rachel, I'm like, you have to find this and that. Oh, there he is. That's Alexander, which you know I'm not very tall. That's Alexander that runs the alcohol rehab facility. I showed this picture just to show how tight this guy's clothes are. This is on Victory Day, and I told you guys that is a huge holiday for them when World War II ended. And we went to one of the many parks to watch the blind musicians play that Tanya Z supports. And because Direct Connect, I don't know if I went over that last week, Direct Connect actually bought some sound equipment for this band of blind musicians to play. We own the equipment, but it again forms a new relationship there. And me and Mike had a lot of fun with that. I can't remember the name of the group is let's see. West 5 is the name of the group, but Mike, of course, started calling them the Blind Boys of Belarus. So by the end of the week, we were calling them the Big Black Blind Boys of Gorlani, Belarus, or something stupid, but luckily they don't speak English. But anyway, this is in one of the parks, and it reminded me of like our fair, our county fair sort of thing. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. They had this this kind of big public amphitheater. They had all these different acts, and I thought they were pretty good. Actually, that might not be. Is that them? Yeah, they did a really good job though. I mean, they had a female singer. She's blind. I mean, they had to put them all on the stage, guitars, drums, everything. It was really, really neat. But Tanya Z, the gal that used to be over a facility for disabled young adults, if you guys remember the crafts that I brought back that I just thought were beautiful, I mentioned last week, she was let go because her superior was fired. So they fired him and all the subordinates, even though they've been helping with it. So she now privately works with disabled individuals and met this group, music group of blind individuals, and she works with them. So we were joking, we're trying to get them to do an American tour, come over here.
Did you buy the paintings?
I did not, because she's not there anymore. I have that painting and I have that beautiful little tree that they have made in craft. So this is at Yuri and Vera's. There's Vera there and Yuri. This is Susha. She's interpreted for us before, speaks really good English. She teaches in a private American school for the children of all the diplomats, as does Sasha Yashnikov. So she teaches Russian there. Sasha, I don't know what he teaches actually, but Susha's a really, really neat gal. She went with us to Mogilev the second weekend. But she had some great spiritual questions. I think a lot of us think about at times, just effectiveness. And she's one of the ones that's kind of been stuck as the Church of Christ churches have all these conflicts and problems that are really law-based. She doesn't know what to do and where to go, to be faithful there. So it was good to have her there. These other gals are regulars at this particular Bible study. This gal's a doctor. Vera's a doctor. I mean, they're doctor. Vera's a doctor. This apartment, I would say, is probably about 450 square feet. That is their home, and she's a doctor. I mean, it's still just so different over there from the income perspective. After the Bible study that night, we had a really good talk with Yuri and Vera. My understanding, if you could pray for Yuri. Yuri was baptized years ago, but I think he's having some issue with alcohol, which is the most common problem that Belarusians try to fight. All of them. Just the temptation that we found out how much. I know nothing about liquor, but I think a bottle of vodka here, Mike said, was probably $15 to $20. There it's $2. So it is so cheap, and I mean that's why they have such a problem. And I don't know if you guys remember me telling you last time I went in November of 2015. The World Health Organization had just come out with a report of the alcoholics per capita. Belarus had the most alcoholics per capita of any country. To put it in perspective, the United States had 3%. Belarus had, I think, 16%.
Don't you think that the alcoholism problem is a type of escapism?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They're forced to live in.
Somewhat, yeah.
Out.
Yeah, I think it's just such an easily, readily available escape, and then it's such a hard liquor. I think that becomes I think in the United States you hear way more about beer than you do harder stuff. But I mean, you get a $2 bottle of vodka. I mean, you can really start to build up a tendency for. I mean, that's 17% alcoholics, not people who drink. 17% of Belarusians are alcoholics. So, had a good meeting with them. was able to encourage them some. You really get comfortable with an interpreter after a while. I think sometimes we think that'd be difficult, but I would, Mike, he mentioned this trip. He's been going to their flat for Bible study for 20 years. Just has such a good relationship with them. Again, I showed this picture because in this one picture, there's about 20 industrial cranes off in the distance that you can see. Just tons and tons of construction. This house, this is a family. We spent a day with Olga, and this family is, wait for it, Ani and Peter. And Ani is Armenian. Peter has cancer. They have 5 young children. She has no passport because Belarus won't give it due to their lowered income. And her original country won't give her a passport because she's been in Belarus so long. So she literally is a citizen of nowhere. But they have, real sweet family. The girls were adorable. But, it's just a family that we provided, we helped out a little bit. And, he's a hard worker. He's a mechanic and he works, but I don't know the extent of the cancer that he's dealing with. And, that was a family that was great to encourage. And this is Mama Nina's. We went to see her. This was the food at Mama Nina's. Again, that was so stinking. That is chicken sausage. They make sausage out of chicken. That was extremely good. And that buckwheat, I almost asked Olga for hers. It was so good because she wasn't eating it. But this is usually what you say. This is compote, which Mike calls compost because he hates it. But it's a homemade fruit juice is what it is. And it almost becomes a little more potent to some regard. I don't know. Some compote's okay, some of it's gross. But then you always have this kielbasa sausage and some bread and some treats and all that stuff. This is Olga. This is Lena. Lena has known Olga for about 20 years. I had never met her before, but she assists Olga pretty much 100%. She assists Olga pretty much 100% in her efforts with the family flats and everything like that. So really, really sweet gal. There's Mama Nina. Started snowing outside. The weather was just insane. This is in the second week of May. There's the cow that me and Mike bought.
That's just why I was asking, is Mama Nina the one you bought?
Yes. There's the good cow. There's the cow that's going to the chopping block here. So she has 9, I believe. And we learned from, I talked about another family we went to meet as well. Same kind of thing. They have 9 kids. They have actually been involved with the raising of 27 kids over 10, 15 years, something like that. They're limited, I think, up to 10. There have been times, like last time, I think when we first met Mama Nina, I thought she had 12 or 13, just because, unofficial orphans, but she is just an amazing gal. And again, they've got turkeys and chickens and largely self-sustaining there. Really, really sweet woman. But right now, what's really neat is Olga has partnered with Mama Nina, and Olga's family flat kids are working with Mama Nina's orphan kids, and they're going into orphanages and doing concerts and plays and stuff. So Olga was just ecstatic because she's like, it accomplishes so many different things. Like, my older kids are being examples of these young kids are working with the older kids, and they're going into orphanages. And so they were really excited about that. This is Václav. Václav is the guy that essentially is the head of child services for an entire division. And he is a guy that is, there's Big Sasha, by the way. This is an extremely important contact. This is essentially like, you have a division that is very, I don't know, that's part of the reason we're there, is because the whole orphan situation is a problem. This guy is in charge of so much of that, and he loves Mike. He just goes great. And
he is the type of guy, like there's a lot of times where we will slip cash to someone to help with something that then doesn't have to be registered. He goes by the book. But I remember the first time we met him and Mike went to give him money and he was like, no. I mean, like he was very standoffish. Well, now he gets really creative and it's almost a little bit like the United States because he said, run it through Olga. Go through Olga's ministry and then Olga can come and contribute to. So his location is he is in an old orphanage and he is over people like, he's not over Mama Nina, but he's in the position where he would be. He's over the other family that takes care of orphans and he checks on them and everything. But the old orphanage they're in, they have actually made kind of a shelter, and Direct Connect sponsored this room, which is a shelter for abused women or children. And Václav loves this. Like he was telling us, he's like, we have had multiple families here as an escape, and Direct Connect sponsored that entire thing. One thing I thought would be interesting, just from a construction standpoint, I thought Dave might, they literally just put down OSB and like put a thing of varnish on it, and it's a really neat little floor. Like I'm like, why don't we do this? This is cheap and it looks really good, you know. But this is the kind of littler stuff that Direct Connect does, but it just has huge impact. So, and again, they feed you tea, which I have to admit, since I came back, I've started drinking more tea. Actually, so. That's Zephyr. That's pretty neat. It's actually made from apple sugar, but it has the consistency of like a super sweet marshmallow, like super sweet. So there's Václav. That's his assistant. She's an interesting gal. Václav loves Mike's hat. Everyone has to wear the hat. This is a gal that interpreted for Mike a couple years ago that he's tried to keep the relationship with, and we actually just went and had lunch with her one day. And I mean, it's like she made a banquet for 25 people. I mean, it was just amazing. But that's her family. I was really fascinated by their house because their house was much more similar to United States style house. They had one bathroom instead of the toilet closet and the shower. It was very similar, and they actually hated it. They said, we designed it this way. We thought it'd be more modern, but we have a family of 7, and we have one bathroom. And they're like, we wish we would have done that, broken it up. So, but around their entire house, they have a garden. They had a goat that was about ready to give birth. They had rabbits for meat. I mean, just it's amazing. This woman has 5 kids. She's probably late 20s, does the whole garden. Privacy fences there. They're in the process of building this. That is such a huge deal. You go into these little villages, every house has a fence around it. And some of them in the United States would be like $30,000 fences. I mean, that's a full, I don't know if I have another picture of it, but they're building that whole thing out of stone and decorative block. But it's not as expensive. That's Garden. That's her oldest daughter. I mean, we're talking a garden. We're talking like a 1 acre around the house garden. There's the rabbits. There's the goat.
Where she is.
They were expecting her to like give birth that day. Greenhouse. I mean, it's crazy. Like, this is the meal. This was one of the first meals I've ever had in Belarus that had ground beef. They never, ever had ground beef. It was so good. I mean, it was just kind of a stew with a hamburger and potatoes in it. It was really good. These are these carrots that I love, which I got the recipe for, which is funny because they call them Korean carrots, but it's a very common kind of salad that you have with a meal there. I didn't show a picture of it. It's just the whole big family thing, I guess. It's not necessarily Belarusian, but this kid was in a stroller, like a bassinet style stroller. And Mike and I, we said afterward, we were just waiting for the kid to flip out of there and crack her head because she was cooking, and I mean the kid's just jumping around, going all over the stroller. And I told Mike, I'm like, I think that's a big family thing. You get to a point where all's good. Well, what was really funny is at one point, the oldest daughter, they took the kid out of the stroller and were playing with it. At one point, me and Mike look over. I hope I don't give any older siblings any ideas, but She has this kid by like the scruff of the neck, but with her outfit, like carrying her like this. I mean, the kid is face down, but she's just carrying her around like, oh, it's so funny. No, she was dragging her along the floor. So this is in Mogilov. This is the guy that is a Baptist preacher, but again, the titles over there just are so different, you know. This guy is extremely receptive to Mike. This is the one we've done family camps with and stuff before. This is his wife, Lena. That's Sergey. He's always got a guitar in his hand. Susha went with us, and this is Anna. Anna is part of one of the churches in Minsk, and her English is great. She puts me to shame because I met her years ago, and she was just learning English, and I started trying to learn Russian, and now she's perfectly fluent, and I'm not. But had fellowship with them. You got to get another meal. Again, both of these are chicken, and they were really good. It was almost like a ground chicken patty of some
Are you sponsored by Coke?
Huh?
Are you sponsored by Coke?
Like that subliminal advertising there. Oh, I have to carry a Coke for that. I go and do so much of the compote and the tea. No, they do not. Don't get me started. Their ketchup is in a bag. Oh, this is Mike telling his dumb story about his mice. Just so everyone's clear, he's talking about plastic mice.
Маленькая вышла однозначно, сказала огромное облегчение. Но самым страшным будет все-таки печаль.
And that's an example of how Mike does hesitate to use her slang.
An explosive situation at home.
Он говорит, в общем, когда я возьму, по-моему, меня
So there's a lot of times where I translate from Mike to the translator. And the translator. Everyone asks about the dumb plastic mics. They just love it. And for those who don't know, he carries around these two little plastic mics. Like I've seen him. We'll be walking down the street in Minsk, hundreds of people, and he'll stop and he'll put them on a bench, and he'll like get down, start taking pictures, and people are just like, "What is wrong with this dude taking a picture of the plastic mic?" That's Sergey. He's real big on music, which is, I mean, they're fine. They assemble in this old, I don't know what it is. This old building that, I mean, it's in there. We got there about an hour early. He gets everything set up, and this gal is pretty interesting. She is like a gypsy princess. She is part of the gypsy community that has been impacted by the gospel, and I mean, she takes risks to assemble with this congregation because they're very particular about those certain things. This guy is named, I think it's Oleg. He is amazing. They were talking about him. He was an orphan. He started riding his bike to their assembly about 10 years ago, 30 kilometers one way. Rode a bike. And he started having an impact on other orphans, and he's pretty much Sergey's right-hand guy. He is just a really cool guy. He has a heck of a metabolism too, because I sat there that morning and he brought in a cluster of bananas. And I'm like, oh, he brought some bananas, and he just ate them all. Like he just kept, every time I saw him, he'd like take 2 bites, the banana would be gone. I was like, well, if you're right, a bite for 30 kilometers. I showed this. We went to a restaurant afterwards, and it's just funny. The name of the restaurant's Burger Pizza. And sometimes they try to communicate like, this is American food. Come here, you know. But, and I don't have the picture in here, but I thought it was so funny. I don't know if you guys saw me post it on Facebook, but they bring you like surgical plastic gloves to eat your hamburger, so your hands don't get messy. Because I took a picture put on Facebook, and Jeremy Wilson's like, why is that kid wearing latex gloves? And I'm like, they apparently that's proper protocol here. They bring gloves so your hands don't get messy. This was really neat. I'm just about to finish up here. When I was there a couple times ago, we just went out to this field where this guy started talking about these grand dreams of building this camp. And we're like, okay, man, whatever. You know, I mean, we're getting money from all this stuff. This is now called the Green Ranch. This is the most unbelievable camp facility I've ever seen in my life. Like they have all of these individual cabins that they can have. They want to house like different groups at the same time. They have horses. The main facility overlooks, like as we were pulling up on it, I'm like, that's a filthy rich government official that's like built their home overlooking this beautiful view, and it was all part of this facility. But this guy and his son, this is the old guy, this is his son, and we were talking to him, and they have just been able to, like, they have a fund. They essentially have an endowment that they have multiple churches, religious stuff contributing to, and money does not seem to be a problem. I mean, this was a A+ facility. I mean, there you can tell the middle there, they're still finishing that up, but all this stuff was amazing. I mean, it was just, I haven't seen anything like it in the United States. It was beautiful. This is like the main, like this could be, I asked if they rented this out for wedding halls or wedding ceremonies, stuff like that. This is that facility that overlooks the pretty view, overlooks the lake. I mean, it's just, it was amazing. But when Bill Compton goes in August with his group, they're using this camp for their camp. They're partnering with Olga and having the camp for orphans and stuff like that.
So I
So
was gonna ask what the campus for.
he primarily, he told us originally, and he told us this last time, he wants it to be a place where, number one, orphans and children's camps can work, but he also wants it as a retreat for preachers and their families. He wanted, if a preacher's getting a little burnt out on the work or something, that he wanted them to be able to come, and if they want to stay for 6 months, they can stay. But their endowment is so unbelievably good that they've been building these houses. They're building like 8 houses that they're going to put orphan families in, kind of like Mama Nina. And I mean, this house was unbelievable. I showed that picture, again, I thought those construction minded. All their walls are like 16 inches thick. I mean, it's just all block. But then they finish it out. That's how the house starts. That's like the third one they're building.
Where's your endowment come from?
I don't know. That's what I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is a lot of money. This is insane. But it sounds, the son manages the endowment, and I think he maintains those relationships and works with all kinds of I mean, it was from a fundraising standpoint. I was blown away.
Well, what's their reasoning for having 16?
It's just the construction style. It's because the houses are built with that kind of block. Those blocks are this thick and this long, and they don't build stud walls. They don't build stud walls with lumber. They build everything under. Huh? There's no way. I haven't tried to pick one up, but I mean, I literally don't think 2 men can pick one of those stones up. It has to be porous in some way. But it's not like our cinder blocks. There's not big holes in them. I mean, if you look at them, they look solid, but it has to be porous in some way.
Do they ever have basements in their homes?
Well, when you actually see a home, I mean, most people live in apartments, but I have not seen a basement. Now you mentioned it.
Does every home have a well then, or do they have?
Yeah, most of them have wells and the type of septic. If you're outside the main city, that's the way it works. This was our last Bible study. This was the night before we left. Again, we had another Bible study at Beers. Yes, sweet. A lot of them do, yeah. Man, she's like leading me to something. Yeah, a lot of them have stuff like that. They have their own little animals and things. Because they don't have grocery stores like we do, so they don't need that.
They don't have dogs or bees.
I didn't see the cats.
Yeah, there's,
I saw a couple dogs.
you're in Vera have a cat. Dr. Rogoff, you've heard him, he was immersed years and years ago. DirectX brought him here. He is a high medical individual that's like a specialist in a certain field over there. Again, really good Bible study with him. Susha, Anna. This might be the last slide here. I thought everyone would think a little Russian kid, or Belarusian kid would be, he was adorable. I was so excited because I could talk to him, like we were on the same level of language. That's kind of where I am in my Russian. This is Vera's grandson. They can have toy guns, that's not a big deal. That's it. Anyone have any questions?
Matthew, so do a lot of the families out of the city need to be basically self-sustaining or out of the garden?
In a lot of ways, they have, well, it's more of a cost standpoint than not availability of food. There's always a market or something. But I think I mentioned last week, groceries is their biggest expense. I think ours as Americans most of the time would be housing, but their groceries are insane when you compare it to a percentage of their income. It's practically unaffordable. I mean, no one would just go buy a little bottle of Coke like that. It's too expensive. So they do a lot of that for just practical purposes as opposed to a passion, I think.
Matthew, I think I asked you this, but how are they taxed?
I can't figure it out. I have no idea. I'm serious. Like, I think at one point they might have mentioned, I don't know if they have a property tax if you do own a property. I don't know if tax is withdrawn by an employer prior to you receiving it or if you have to pay. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet.
Did you do your financial?
Oh, yeah. And of course, I don't have pictures of that because Mike didn't take pictures. I did my budgeting seminar for Yulia's school, the school she teaches at. And then I also did it for all of Olga's family flats. There was about 12 people there. So, because all those kids are 16 and up, 16 to 20. So. And for anyone who's staying this afternoon, we're going to start that module, look at personal budgeting, creating a budget. Any other questions? All right, I don't want the food to get cold. Let's food's down there, right? Yep. We just need to pull the tops off and we're good. Let's go to number 129. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll pray for the food as well. I'll have prayer for us. And then we'll sing through 129 once, and then we'll be dismissed. Okay, let's pray. Lord God of heaven, I thank you so much for another great morning, Lord, for beautiful sunshine and just a constant reminder, Lord, of your glory and your creation. Lord, I just thank you for the opportunity I had to travel to Belarus and just the excitement to see brethren throughout the world in different cultures and situations that are striving for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I pray, Lord, that might bring encouragement to us here locally. And Lord, just pray that we can always keep them in our prayers and our thoughts as well with their efforts. Thank you so much for this food that you provided, Lord, and a great time of fellowship that we can enjoy with visitors today that we get to see not so often. And pray that you might bless them and watch over them, Lord, as they travel later this week. Lord, we just thank you for all that you provide. Pray that you might be glorified in the church and all we say and do in our lives. I ask things in Jesus' name. Amen. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Lift up your banner, let the anthems ring. Praises to our King. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Everyone, go ahead and be making your way downstairs. We'll start eating here shortly.
So this will be able to.
Yeah.
Step looking the other way. Olga's the one that has the family. You, she's kind of her own, like the thing I showed at the end, the Green Branch is not affiliated in any way with Olga or with, but they have a similar kind of. And just to let you know, I think I showed, I think I gave them 150 so I helped with that. I did a hundred. Just to help with her expenses. And then that family, I'll show you this. We met a family that was a different version of mom and dad. It was husband and wife. They had been given an old kindergarten. They had 9 kids. They had nothing, but every dollar he's ever received, he's been happy with. And they had a huge garden that we just totally. Well, they had 1 bathroom, but they had another place that we said they could get a second shower.
Maxine, you want to take some home?
So I talked to Mike, and I did check $100. And Vera, Vera works with the Red Cross. And Vera, she's my kind of gal. We told her we were going to have her. He asked her. 2 days before we left, she was like, find the contract for up here as possible. So I contributed that was a brand new contract.
That's so exciting. You guys can go over there and then be able to.
It's just looking at some of those little things. I think that's Jesus. I think sometimes we think it has to be this.
Right.
Kids, I mean, their entire life.
You caught that when you were doing show.
It's not. Oh, that was, I kept asking. Well, I said, I think, so, I'm sure you can get that. There's just how it is. And it's about time you gave me all the rationale. That's kind of what she doesn't know. She's not. She's like,
other gal here that works with her boss, and she's the same kind of caliber. She's very Olga is the gal that we give $100 a month to. She is the one that she like there are some people that work with orphans. They don't work with them. Olga is the one that works with orphans. And you have 15-year-old orphans. She brings them in to just life skills. They're also trying to look at those skills. And she has gals. See, she was actually the day after this challenge. She was that shows amazing. They have 4 kids. And her husband, I'm going to take care of 4 kids. She's doing spiritual communities. And we get that feeling a lot. Good stuff. It was a good trip. I didn't talk about how they almost didn't let me leave. I lost an immigration card that you get when you enter the country. You're supposed to give it back, and it almost got bad. Pretty good. We got to the airport 2 hours early, and I was able to finally get through as they were walking on the plane. I had to pay a fee, and I told Mike I signed my life away. I said I'd probably a guarantor on the national debt. They just put all these Russian documents.